Grab a cup of coffee. It's time for a Midwest check-in.
Midwest check-in, Midwest check-in.
How's it going? I spilled my coffee everywhere. At first it felt like burning, and now it just feels like icy pants. Are we actually going to have a white Christmas? Here in the Twin Cities, there is snow on the ground, and unless things heat up, I think we're actually going to have a white Christmas this year. I mean, seriously, if we have to put up with temperatures this low, at least let us have something pretty to look at. Now, do I like driving in it? No. Walking in it? No. Shoveling it? No. But it looks pretty. Okay, I really need gloves.
Let's welcome a Midwest guest,
I'm very excited to welcome my first ever Midwest guest, John O'Sullivan from 1 Minute Tours. Welcome to the Midwest Check-In.
Hey, I'm so excited to be here.
I've got one question for you.
Uh-huh.
How's it going?
Yeah, good. It's going good.
Good.
It's cold. It's really cold out
It
here.
is
I can't
cold.
believe we do this outside.
Yeah, well, it's tradition at this point.
I'm really interested to see in 2 months' time how you do it in February.
Well, I started it in February, actually. So it
Did you
all
really?
started outside because it was
All right.
balmy, if you recall, last winter.
Do you sing the song live?
No, that is recorded,
Can,
edited.
can I just do it?
Yes, please.
Midwest check-in, Midwest check-in.
Nailed it. All right, so John, would you consider yourself a Midwesterner?
Yeah, I'm from here. Grew up in Mankato.
Okay.
And I'm married to a foreigner. I'm married to an Australian. And so I'm reminded every day of the weird quirks that we have as Midwesterners. We're always fighting about timeliness, which I assert is a Midwestern value.
Yes.
And she asserts is me being pedantic.
I'm going to pretend like I know what that word means. John, what temperature do you consider very cold?
This temperature, whatever this is.
It is really cold.
There we go. No, the real answer is below zero.
Below
And
zero, okay.
It's something that I've learned about because I've lived in the Celsius world.
Yes.
And so you lose that. Because when you're below zero over there, you're what we consider 32.
That's bomb. That's warm.
It's fine, right?
Yeah.
But I like that about Fahrenheit. It's got a bit of not logic to it, but a nice part of like, all right, 32, getting there.
Yeah.
Below zero, oh my God.
Frigid, yes.
Yeah. Fun fact, negative 40 is the same in Celsius and Fahrenheit.
Oh,
That's where
okay.
it crosses over.
I didn't know that. That is
Yep.
a fun fact. What is your favorite hot dish?
I like this. I like how we do this.
Yes,
This is fun.
it's warm.
It's not Midwest check-in if you're not holding your cups like this.
Keeps us warm.
You're literally crying. I see a tear.
It's so cold. My eyes are watering.
What's the question? My favorite hot dish?
What's your favorite hot dish?
I have a hot take on hot dish.
Oh, go for it.
It's bad. Hot dish
All
is
of
bad.
it?
All of it's bad.
Across the board.
It's like all these Midwesterners. I'm sorry, I just said I was Midwesterner, but now I'm going to make fun of Midwesterners. I lived 12 years overseas, and so I got some. I left the fold when it comes to things like chili cook-offs. Like that's not cooking. You're taking a bunch of canned food, dumping it in the thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with hot dish. It's
Okay.
not. It's hot dish if you actually make the cream of mushroom soup, and if you actually make the tater tots and all that, then I will accept your hot dish. But if all you're doing is taking canned foods, putting it into a casserole, and saying, "Oh, I have the best hot dish," you're not a cook.
Okay, but that's the Midwest way.
It's bad, and we should change it. We should change it. It
We're
used
gonna,
to be.
John, we have to agree to disagree on this. Now, being from Minnesota, are you Scandinavian or German?
I come from a German upbringing because I'm from Mankato, but I'm Irish. My full
Well,
name,
O'Sullivan, that
John
makes sense.
Francis O'Sullivan. I have an Irish passport.
Oh,
so
you're
yeah.
like Irish,
Yeah,
Irish.
yeah.
Okay,
My
okay.
grandfather was born in Ireland, so I got the passport there. But I grew up in a German Catholic church, and so we had a
Oh.
polka mass every autumn.
So you're not a Lutheran German.
No. I'm
Oh.
a German Catholic, Irish German Catholic. It's very confusing.
Yes.
I grew up thinking it was normal to go to church on Sunday where a tuba was playing, and it had a literal what's it called at Thanksgiving? The spiral thing with all the gourds coming out of it.
Oh, the cornucopia.
Yeah, they had a literal cornucopia on the altar, and they played like tuba music at St. Peter and Paul's Catholic Church in Mankato.
This is all coming at me quick. I have never heard of this before.
You have not heard Ave Maria until you have heard it in tuba.
I'm going to have to Google this. This sounds incredible. So we know what you don't like about the Midwest, but what makes the Midwest special to you?
We're unassuming. we don't realize how good we have it here.
Yeah.
It's one of the ways I've been able to build like my business and my channel and all that is that I come from the perspective of traveling to many places in the world, and we've got it better than a lot of them in terms of what there is to do. I appreciate our embrace of winter weather because I've lived in places like in London or in Melbourne, Australia that have just wet, cold, miserable winters. Here it's like, hey, it's winter, let's go skiing, or let's go ice fishing, or I live by Lake Harriet. It's like, let's go to the Art Shanty Festival, or we go to the middle of the lake. I really appreciate it. I think that we don't do a good enough job telling our story, and so one of my goals is to get people excited about living in Minnesota right now.
Yeah, I think it's really been a joy being a Midwest creator because, as you know, we get to meet the most lovely people and hear their stories and share this really great sense of community.
It's also like, maybe it's something in our Scandinavian roots, but there's like an aversion to talking about yourself too much, right? It's all like pleasantries and top level, and there's a positive and negative side of that. But part of that negative side, I think, is that we just don't say how great we are.
Yeah.
And we're great.
I think you're right. That's true. We do need to be better about that. Let's all start
Great,
saying how
gosh
great
darn
we
it.
are. So you have mentioned a couple times other places that you lived. Keeps us warm. Tell us about other places that you've lived.
I have lived in Galway, Cardiff, London, Melbourne, and here. But then also I was a tour guide, so I spent years of my life, like every week I was in a new country in Europe, in Croatia, and Greece, and Bosnia, and Czech Republic, and all that.
So you were doing tours in other countries even.
Yeah, that's where I started my career. I started my career giving tours to like 20-something Australian backpackers.
Okay.
So like I literally would be on a bus with a microphone, and I'd lead people into France and then into like Holland or through Belgium. I spent the first part of my kind of young adult life in Europe, and then I continued on over to Australia, following my wife out there, who's Australian, and lived there for a while. My plan was to live in Australia for my whole life. And then we had a baby during the pandemic, and so I kind of prodigal sunned Minnesota and came back for a year. We were supposed to be here for 1 year. That was 3 years ago.
And do you plan to stay?
I don't know.
TBD?
So one thing I learned actually during traveling is that I always plan to stay where I'm living at the moment. For a long time when I lived in Europe, I would never get the good phone because you go to the phone store and they're like, do you want the 2-year or the 3-year contract? And I was like, I don't know. That's an insane existential question to ask me when I'm trying to buy a phone. So I had the flip phone for way longer than was advisable because I couldn't commit. And eventually I said, I'm just going to plan to live in the UK for the rest of my life. And so I just said, 2-year contract, and I got the iPhone, my first iPhone, in like 2012 or 2013 or something. And that way of living is kind of how I've embraced life since then. It's like we bought a house here, although I kind of think I'll live in Australia eventually, but I'm not worrying as much about it as I used to.
Yeah. Well, as you know, I'm heading to Australia soon. What's your biggest piece of advice for me?
Go a second and third and fourth time. Okay. It's amazing. I think you'll want to. Australia is incredible. I think, like, number one, there's never been a better time to go to Australia. The Australian dollar is cheaper than it's ever been compared to the US dollar.
Music to my ears.
So you can get a lot for not that much. There are more flights than there's ever been. Everyone complains about the flight, but they're just being babies. It's not that bad.
I'm more scared. I think it'll be fine.
You just
but
watch
it's
a movie, you go to sleep,
time.
you have a drink, you watch a movie again, you're there. It's
Okay.
fine.
All right. Okay.
Literally, people who fly from California to Europe are flying the same distance as people who fly to Australia.
No, that can't be right.
Yeah.
I had
It
no
is like
idea.
the LA to Sydney flight is the same as like the LA to London flight.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Not that bad.
No. Yeah, it's nothing.
Also,
It's
drink
nothing.
lots of coffee. The coffee in Australia is incredible.
I'm very excited
Yeah.
for the coffee in
I
Australia.
don't want to crap on your coffee here, but
It's not Australia level.
it was made of powder.
To be fair, my coffee maker is broken. It's not my fault.
The mug is better. I like the mug.
So, John, you have a social media page, many pages, called 1 Minute Tours.
Yep.
Tell us about it.
So I have been a tour guide my whole career. 14 years I've been giving tours. Usually like either 3-hour at a minimum or 3-week tours.
Okay.
The pandemic happened and I couldn't do any of that. And
Yeah.
TikTok had come along with a 1-minute limit. And so I figured, well, I had a 3-hour walking tour in Melbourne. What if I just make it into a 1-minute tour? Then I have 180 videos I can do right then. It went super viral in Australia. I was interviewed on national news and all that. And then when I came here, I said, let's do it again. started a new account, and that's grown even bigger. So
Oh, awesome.
now
Good.
I have the largest social video account in Minnesota about Minnesota.
And it's an incredible account. So I love that you're telling the stories of the things that we don't think about. You find I'll walk around with you sometimes and you're just like, oh, I could do a story on that. There's a tree over there. I'm gonna do a story on that. Like you'll find
Yeah.
a story in everything.
Yeah,
What do you think drives you to do that?
I think that we underappreciate that the place that we are in is inherently interesting. People always ask me, like, what stories do you look for? And that's not how it works. We're right here. If you gave me like 10 minutes on a computer, I could give you a story about something related to this development that we're in, or what's nearby here, and how it ties to how we came from Europe. Like everything has a connection.
Yeah.
And that's why I do 1 minute tours, to share those things.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share about 1 minute tours?
I think we need to tell more good stories about Minnesota. I think that Minnesota got hung up into politics after the murder of George Floyd and the civil unrest that followed.
Yeah.
And so if you had an opinion about how we reacted one way or the other, that painted your perspective on where we live, which is unfortunate because we are a state as an apolitical being.
Yeah.
We have a lot of amazing things here, from restaurants to bike trails to weather, that people should embrace. And so that's the goal of 1 minute tours. Like, just step aside from that and be like, remember the old spaghetti factory?
Yeah.
Which is the video that you helped me film yesterday.
Yep.
And talking about this kind of shared cultural history that we all have, regardless of politics.
Well, that leads us to your new project, The Hidden Middle.
Yes.
Tell us about it.
So Hidden Middle is a show about the unexpected connections in the world. I've wanted to break out of the vertical format and the 1 minute limit for a while and do a proper show, long form. And so it was a matter of how do I do that in a way that is true to what I've done, but also still be interesting and three-dimensional.
Yeah.
And so that's the idea. The show is we take two things that you would never think are connected. Let's say the Jolly Green Giant and Nazis. And we can find a way to connect those things.
Okay.
Another one is like the U.S. Olympic women's gymnastics team and the real life Johnny Appleseed. So it's kind of like 6 degrees of separation, but historical version.
Okay. Where are you discovering these topics? How are you finding these connections?
It's kind of like a hidden talent of mine. Like, I used to have a roommate, a flatmate in London, who would challenge me, and because she's like, "How do you know these things?" I'm like, "I never answer the question you ask. I answer the question I want to answer based on my knowledge." And so like, she would always ask me, "What year did Napoleon die?" And I'd say, "Well, the interesting thing is that it came at the end of the Napoleonic Wars, which is a fascinating time." And I go for age. No, what year did he die? I'm like, "Well, Napoleon represents a period of upheaval in the social order." And again, it was like rope-a-dope with me. And that's Hidden Middle, is like, how can I find ways to connect stories in surprising ways? But really, it's a bit of a trick. I'm doing a magician, like, look over here trick, while I force you to learn about something that you maybe didn't realize you were interested in.
Do you want to share when this is going to launch?
Yes, so we are launching this in the springtime. It's being built in like real time right now. We're actually doing a crowdfunding campaign, and so I'd love it if people watching want to go to hiddenmiddle.com. You can find out how you can take part. I quit my job in May because of the following I had on social media. I have a staff of 7 people, and this is the next step, but I didn't want to do it through going like with a traditional publisher. And so we're doing this like a community supported thing. So we're looking to have people contribute, and then in exchange for that, they can take part in the production in different levels.
You have some pretty incredible support out there, and I'm really excited to see what comes from this. I think this show is going to be very interesting, very incredible. You obviously have a knack for storytelling. I took a look at the teaser trailer, which all of you should do at hiddenmiddle.com.
Yep.
And it's incredible.
Thank you.
Truly, go check it out. I was genuinely impressed. It's very good.
I leveled up the production side of it because I partnered with a production company in Northeast Minneapolis. And so the people working on the project, one of them is like he's made feature films, and the other one's made a YouTube channel that's amassed tens of millions of views.
Little different quality than the selfie.
Hey man, don't shake it. It's good. This is good.
It is good.
Authentic. But when you go to TV, then you gotta, level it up.
Where are you hoping that this will be, that people can watch this?
I really hope it just works on YouTube. I want this to be accessible to all, but we're also talking to streamers, we're talking to broadcasters, like we're kind of exploring what avenues are out there. But if we can make it just work on YouTube, that's the best case, I think.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share?
Hiddenmiddle.com. Check it out, please.
John, thank you so much for being my first ever Midwest guest.
This
is very exciting. Cheers.
Cheers.
Now we're frozen. I think it's iced coffee at this point.
It really is.
It's literally started snowing since we came out here.
I can't feel my fingers.
All right, let's go warm up.
Bye.
Well, that was fun. A huge shout out to John for stopping by the Midwest Check-In Studios. Not exactly climate controlled, but you know what? We have fun. And a friendly reminder that I am taking a little break to spend time with my family over the holidays and then head out on an extended trip to Australia and New Zealand. I can't wait. Be sure to check out John's Kickstarter at hiddenmiddle.com. I think it's really important to hear more stories of the Midwest, and I think he's onto something really cool. However you're celebrating at the end of the year, I just want you to know how grateful I am that you've been here with me every week, hanging out during our check-ins. And that's all I've got for this week. Let me know. How's it going?